Hey y'all, March 29th, 2024 here at Twin Oaks Family Farm, and got a lot going on today. We've done several stints of video recording and getting footage today. So I want to show you what's going on in the pen now though. We are kind of resetting some waters and testing out the new waters. Well, they're not new, but they're going to be new to these birds. And my husband is turning over the bedding. And so we're really careful about the bedding. We've really just been adding bedding and fluffing the bedding that's there, but now he's actually taking the pitchfork, scooping under it and turning it over and loosening it, okay? And so you can see how much loose bedding that frees up. So what the birds have done, I don't think we have any areas left where you can really see it, but these chickens get the bedding really compacted in their area that they live in. And so they get it so compacted that it'll get kind of a hard crust on top of it. And when that happens, it's not absorbent for them. And the moisture from their manure and their urine lays on top of the bedding. And because that's a little easier to talk. Jared asked our youngest son to cut that truck off. We have one of the diesel trucks sitting right outside the building, and it was a challenge to speak over the truck. Thank you, Jared. He's the brains of the operation. He's the brains and the muscle, and then we have 3 sons, and they're the muscle, and they come up with great ideas. So I couldn't do any of this without them, and I don't think we could do it without each other. So anyway, but they really get it compacted. And once it's like that, it won't absorb the moisture from their manure and their urine. And when that happens, they can get like burns, on their feet, on their legs, even up on their chicken breast. And it can become enough of a problem that it can prevent them, from being able to be processed for meat if those blisters and burns are bad enough on their skin. So anyway, but like this back here is real compacted, but they're not on it as much of the time as they're under the heat lamp. So that's where Jared made sure to turn it all under the heat lamp. So now bedding that has been in here for just shy of 3 weeks is like new bedding again. So we started out with 5 bags of pine shavings, and so those are 3 cubic foot compressed bags of pine shavings. Started out with 5 of them. We've fluffed the bedding and gently, with the pitchfork, and added only about a half a bag in that time, this 19 days. So they're really going to like having this bedding fluffed. And it's so interesting, pardon me, that as that bedding compacts on top and forms that crust, it's essentially sealing off the bedding that's underneath it. And since it's not absorbing any more of the moisture on top, it's not letting any moisture down to the bedding that's underneath. So if you do turn it like this occasionally in a safe way, not creating any more dust than you have to from that, it is like you have brand new bedding, because this bedding that was trapped underneath was not getting filled up with moisture from the bird's manure. So it is like we have new bedding. So that we'll be able to extend that bedding several days, hopefully a week or more now, and maybe get really close to the end of production before we have to put more bedding down. But they really, really like fresh bedding. They love it. So you can see, they'll kind of settle down in it. And it is interesting, while we're recording, I'll mention this right here, the bird on the right, is the smallest bird in the flock. For all purposes, we are now saying there's 122 birds in the meat production flock. We have one that we just pulled out of this flock today. Not necessarily going to call it a cull bird, but it's an injured bird, and we're going to have to give it special attention to get it through production and see if we can take it to the processor. But this bird on the right here is the smallest one in the flock, so we're also watching it closely, making sure that it can still reach feeders and waters as the birds get bigger and we raise the heights of the feeders and waters. So the bird on the left is more like the size that's the uniform size across the flock, and this smaller one just doesn't have the uniformity of growth with the flock, so it's essentially a runt. And you know, that just happens. Like, they'll keep up for a while, and then it'll get to a point where they don't keep up with the growth that's more prevalent throughout the flock. In fact, we started with 126. We've lost 3 to death, to flock loss, and they were all runts. And that's, you know, that's kind of what happened. They just couldn't keep up with the growth. And with these meat birds, as they grow, they've already grown so much, but they actually grow more and more rapidly as growth continues. So if you have one that's kind of struggling to keep up, as that tendency toward the continued rapid growth kicks in, that bird's heart may not be able to keep up with that demand. So that's, sometimes we lose them to heart failure, or sometimes they get in under a group of birds and won't be able to get out if they get too warm, and they could end up smashed. So that's disappointing when that happens. I will show you the injured bird. So we've pulled the injured bird out here. We still need to do some special things for it. It is with this group of month-old pullets. I'm gonna put a little more bedding down, and I'm gonna get another feeder tray with the lid off, so it doesn't even have to get up to get to the feeder. I'm gonna give it a water that is not on a riser, so it doesn't have to get up. So we definitely see evidence of wing injury. There's some bruising, and it acts like there's leg injury, and it may or may not make it. So there's the 2 leghorns here closest to us, and an Easter egger or Americana on the right facing us at the feeder. And I think that's a black copper marin also at the feeder. And then there's about 8 more in that group. So anyway, so they've settled down again. Jared did an awesome job fluffing their bedding. There's one dust bathing in it. They love it. They love it. They love it. So we've got some video footage to work with and get some videos uploaded. But before I do that, I'm gonna have to go drop off an egg order, and then we'll check back in on this video footage so we can get something uploaded for March 29th. 2024, and we sure hope y'all have an excellent Easter from us and all our peeps here. So we do have, they are able to use these waters. We're gonna leave a few of the small waters set around too, and we've got a couple more of these waters that we can add in either today or in a few days. But that's good. Getting them into these waters helps us a lot, because we can open the lid, fill that from the top, holds about 5 gallons, and we'll still fill them up, you know, daily, but it's a lot easier to manage. Thanks, y'all. Come back to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry on YouTube and join us again another time in the meat bird barn and on our happy little homestead. God bless y'all. Thanks.